Well, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you. I'm Virginia Gibbs, President and CEO of the Fayette Chamber, and on behalf of the Chamber and the Fayette County Board of Realtors, want to welcome you and thank you for joining us this evening. You know, this year, as we went into the year as the Chamber, our theme has been a Positively Fayette theme. And this evening, I think, is truly an extension of that theme as we really focus on the transportation referendum and the positive aspects of what this means to our community and to our region. We're going to talk about the economy, we're going to talk about infrastructure, we're going to talk about jobs, and hopefully before the end of the afternoon we're going to have a chance to answer questions that you have about the impact of this very important vote that's going to occur on July 31st. I'm thrilled to have an extremely knowledgeable panel with us, and they've got not only local but also regional and state transportation expertise that I think you'll find both informative and extremely relevant to this topic this evening. I'd like to set the stage for our schedule tonight. What we've asked our panelists to do is each panelist is going to give some brief remarks in their area of expertise. And that should take us about 25 to 30 minutes. As they conclude their remarks, we're going to have a chance for you to ask the questions that you've had about this vote, about the transportation issues, and hopefully we'll be able to answer it from these wonderful panelists. When we get to the Q&A point, what we'll do is I have a microphone that I'll bring down and just ask you to either raise your hand or come down, and we'll get the microphone to you so the rest of the audience can hear your question. With that, I'd like to take just a couple of minutes and introduce our panelists to you, and I'm going to start here right at my left and work our way down the panel. Michael Faulkner is a commercial real estate broker with his company, Faulkner Commercial Group in Tyrone. He's been active in real estate development, and mortgage banking for 29 years here in Fayette County. He served in most of the leadership roles with the Fayette County Board of Realtors and has served as its president in 2002. He's currently the regional director with the Georgia Association of Realtors and will be GAR's Vice President of Member and Public Services beginning in November. Mike has degrees from Georgia Tech and Georgia State University. Next is Todd Long. Todd is a native of Hinesville, Georgia. He's also studied at Georgia Tech and earned a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering in 1989 and his Master's in Civil Engineering in 1990. Mr. Long is a registered professional engineer and a registered professional traffic operations engineer. That's a mouthful there. Mr. Long began his career with the Georgia Department of Transportation in 1990. He's worked at both the DOT headquarters and at the district office. He served as a District 1 engineer, Director of Administration, and Director of Pre-Construction. And as a result of the legislation during the 2009 Georgia General Assembly, Mr. Long was selected by then-Governor Perdue as Director of Planning. And he was again reappointed by Governor Deal and confirmed by the General Assembly in January of 2011 to continue serving in that capacity of Director of Planning. Mr. Long was recently picked to serve as the Georgia DOT Deputy Commissioner. He's an active member of the Institute of Transportation Engineers and he has served as president of the Georgia section in 2004. And on a personal note, I know that both Mr. Long and Mr. Williams made above and beyond effort to be here with us tonight. So thank you for joining us, Todd. Our next guest, we are just thrilled to have Robert Pope, who has been with UPS for 34 years, 18 years as their division manager, serving in multiple territories that have included all of North Georgia and the Atlanta area. He's currently is the Atlanta Package Division Manager, which covers the downtown Atlanta area west to Alabama, and this includes the Fayette area and our UPS locations here. The Atlanta Division dispatches 320 delivery drivers from 5 locations. He's a native of Arizona, and he's lived in Georgia for 38 years. And Mr. Pope, thank you for joining us. And last but certainly not least is Mr. Dave Williams, my colleague from the Metro Atlanta Chamber, and we certainly welcome you down here to Fayette County, Dave. He is the Vice President of Transportation for the Metro Atlanta Chamber, and he assumed that position in January of 2011. He has an admirable track record of civic leadership. He's a member of Metro Atlanta's MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and he's served as on the Atlanta Regional Commission's board from 2002 to 2007. He was elected mayor of the city of Suwanee and served from 2007 to 2011. He served on the Suwanee City Council 1998 to 2001 and as president of the Gwinnett Municipal Association in 2009. Prior to joining the Metro Atlanta Chamber, he was the CEO of South Track, which is a branded merchandise and marketing company that he founded in 2002. And interestingly, Mr. Williams started his career with the Metro Atlanta Chamber's Atlanta Sports Council and the AOC when they were making the bid to, which ultimately brought the 1996 Olympic Games to Atlanta. He's a Metro Atlanta resident since 1973, and here's a recurring theme. Dave graduated from Georgia Tech in 1989. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Mike Faulkner and let Mike kick us off here.
Thank you, Virginia. Most events I go to or participate in, it's usually a bunch of Georgia graduates, so I'm glad to hear this. Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm Michael Faulkner, as Virginia indicated. I want to welcome everybody here. I'm here representing the Fayette County Board of Realtors, co-host of this event, as well as the Georgia Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors. I'm also here as a Fayette County, longtime Fayette County citizen and a business owner here in the county. A lot of you may wonder, why are the realtors involved in this? What does this have to do with real estate? It has everything to do with real estate. It has everything to do with our communities. And in light of that, the core purpose of the Georgia Association of Realtors, the Fayette County Board of Realtors, is we are the protector and the defender of private property rights and private property ownership, and enhancing the communities in which we live and own property in. Normally, you would find realtors on the side against any kind of tax increases. We have done battles with that over the years in the legislature, locally, across the country. This is a little different. Transportation is the lifeblood of a community, and it's the lifeblood of what makes a community grow. Growth is what makes property values go up. It's what enhances our community. It's what brings new people into our community. It's what enhances our schools. And without that growth, then you have a potential negative impact on property values. We undertook first at the Georgia Association of Realtors to analyze this referendum to see if it's something we wanted to get involved in. When we realized that it was, we even kicked it up to the National Association of Realtors that has the real professionals to analyze this on a community development standpoint. They came back and said, absolutely, this is the route to go, and absolutely, if it does not pass and you do not implement all of this, you're going to have negative impact on property values and on various communities across your state. Not just here in Metro Atlanta, but the regions that are set up across the state. If they don't pass on those, it's going to have a very potential negative impact. We looked at the funding mechanism, the implementation of the projects, the citizen oversight of it, all of the issues that would normally raise questions when it comes to taxation, additional taxation. All of those were certainly overridden. Any negative impact of any of those was certainly overridden by the enhancement that it'll do to our local community here in Fayette County. The other thing that the Georgia Association and the National Association, before we committed our financial support to the two campaigns here in Atlanta and across the state was who are the players that are also supporting this. Every major employer in Georgia is supporting this. Each of y'all probably have a spouse or a son or a daughter or nephew, somebody that drives from Fayette County and works for these employers that are financially supporting this campaign, and that's Home Depot, AT&T, UPS, Turner Broadcasting, General Electric. I mean, you just go down the list, and those were all the top players that were matching what we were putting in to support this campaign. These are the companies that Fayette County citizens drive to every day. In fact, we've got roughly about 34,000 people drive out of Fayette County to go to work for these employers as well as others. Surprisingly, and it was to me, we've got 28,000 people that drive into Fayette County to work every day. We've only got about 11,000 that live in Fayette County and work in Fayette County. I just did a lease for a company that actually moved from Peachtree City to Tyrone, and they've got 16 employees. 15 of them live in Atlanta and drive to Fayette County every day, which, you know, a little bit against the norm and a little bit surprising to me. As I said earlier, transportation is critical to prosperity. If goods and people can't get around, then the community can't grow. We need that to happen. With the downturn in real estate values and downturn in your house, that's affecting you being able to maybe sell your house, or your parents being able to maybe sell their house, go into assisted living care, or if somebody is being transferred in, they can't sell their house to maybe get transferred in. Business leaders across the country are looking at Georgia. They're wanting to relocate here. Georgia's a great state. We've got great climate, great work ethic, great people right here in Fayette County. But if there are literally roadblocks out there, they're not going to move here. They're going to move to other cities that already have transportation plans in place. Just a little bit about Fayette County. And these other gentlemen are going to touch on this a little more in depth, but this transportation referendum is going to generate, it's going to cost us in taxes about $190 million out of Fayette County over the next 10 years. So what are we getting back for that? For local projects just in Fayette County alone is about $173 million, direct TIA projects. And then Fayette County is going to receive another $41 million, and I may be another $45 million in discretionary funds to use on the road projects that Fayette County, Peachtree City, Tyrone, Brooks, Woolsey, Fayetteville, how they want to use those funds. If you take how much we're putting in, how much we're getting back, just of those projects, that's about 115% return on our money. That's a pretty good investment. If you take into account the other projects that are nearby that are going to benefit Fayette County citizens, such as the 74 I-85 interchange redevelopment, 92 north out of Fayette County up to 138, tying into I-85, 85 north going up through Riverdale, 54 east going over to into Clayton County over to 1941. With all of those monies, we end up about $260 million that's going to benefit Fayette County citizens with $190 million put in. So that's about 137% return on our money. I'm in real estate, and right now I can assure you there's no returns on real estate at 37% over and above whatever you're putting in, or 137%. All of our Fayette County monies that we will spend on this referendum stays in Fayette County. Every dime of it stays right here in Fayette County. With these other projects, we're even getting more than we're putting in. There is none of our money that's being spent on any transit. If we're getting more in, then we're getting more back than we're putting in. Obviously, other people are subsidizing our projects. None of our money is going to any other area. No other area in Atlanta, no other area in the state. It all stays here. Additionally, the road projects that are underway here now under our local SPLOST projects that was up from our 2004 SPLOST, basically all those projects will be finished here within a couple of years, and there is no other funding available short of property taxes in Fayette County. So to me it comes a little bit of we either do this or we're going to end up with higher property taxes just to maintain and work on the roads that we have. From a personal perspective, I look at things very simplistic. How much am I putting in? How much am I getting back? What are the risks to me? And, you know, is there any projects on this list that's going to negatively affect me, my business, my colleagues, my family? Basically, assuming I might spend $15,000 a year on taxable goods, it's going to cost me $150 a year in additional taxes that is going to pay for all these projects. It's certainly going to enhance my ability to go to the airport, to go to Atlanta, for anybody to come down here that I may lease some space to. You know, there'll be more efficient intersections for me to be able to get through Fayetteville, or from Fayetteville to Peachtree City, or through Peachtree City quicker and easier. That's worth $150 to me every year for 10 years. If it's by doing this, this really gives Fayette County an opportunity to thrive for years to come. If we don't do it, then I sincerely believe a lot of these major projects will not ever be accomplished, and I believe that we will end up with higher property taxes, which is going to be a bane for real estate, for your own personal home values. So based on all this that I've told you, I want to make an investment in our community, and if it's only going to cost me $150 a year, I'm willing to make that investment plus some. I will be voting yes on July 31st, and I ask each of y'all to vote yes on July 31st.
Well, first off, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. There's a lot I could talk about, but I want to keep my comments really to give you a little bit of background. I'm in a unique situation up here. He's going to advocate. He already advocated, and you may get some advocation down the row here. But as a government worker, I'm not going to advocate one way or the other. But I want to tell you kind of where we're at and why we got to this point. You have to understand that this did not come lightly. The decision to ask for a sales tax came through a series of really 3 or 4 different legislative sessions. All right, so how do we fund transportation now? That's the first question most people ask me. Well, we fund it through the gas tax. Yeah, most of the funding for transportation is through the gas tax. I know that here in Fayette County, some of your local SPLOST that you've passed through the years probably has done some transportation improvements, which is great. Y'all were good to do that, but there are a lot of counties in this state that put $0 of their own money toward transportation. But the bulk of transportation funding, at least for GDOT, comes from a federal gas tax and a state gas tax. All right. On the federal side, you pay about 18.4 cents a gallon. On the state side, you pay an excise tax which hadn't been raised since 1971. Think about the buying power of that. And then you got another portion that is linked to the price of gas, and that is those two together equal about 16.6 cents per gallon going to transportation. So total about 35 cents a gallon. So we have been kind of stuck in this mode of investing back in the 70s and 80s level. And we did a great job in the 70s. We freed the freeways. We built a lot of projects. And in fact, you know, Georgia's got a good transportation network. We're a hub. We've got some good things that we've done, but we've really been coasting on that past success. We built up to the Olympics, and boom, what have we done lately? Not a thing. In fact, I always quiz people. What's the last interstate to open in Georgia? Anybody know? You kind of have to think about it, don't you? Call out something for, see if you're awake. 400 is not an interstate. I know it's kind of close. But 400, what year was that? It's been over 20 years, guys. Close. 675. It's 675. Think about that. That was in the 80s, right? So you're talking about, we're not just some little old state, right? We're the 4th fastest growing state in this country. This is Georgia. We're the hub of transportation, and we hadn't built an interstate hardly in Georgia. I mean, that's ridiculous. We just haven't been keeping up, and we've been kind of coasting on that past success. So the gas tax, though, has been a good tax. It's a user tax. Hardly anybody calls my office and complains, I'm paying too much gas tax. Nobody says that, right? So what people immediately say next is, why don't you just raise the gas tax, right? That would be a logical thing to do. It's a user tax. Well, here's the problem with the gas tax, all right? It's twofold. The variables that make up the gas tax, there are two of them, all right? One of the variables is the kind of car you drive, right? In other words, the efficiency of the car. Some of you guys drive a Ford pickup truck. You get 16 miles per gallon. Some of you get worse than that, right? Some of you guys drive a little Honda Accord and get 35, 40 miles a gallon, right? What is every commercial on TV about, though? It's about the efficiency of the cars, the efficiency of the fleet. If you look at the fleet in America, and they're talking about getting the fleet, in other words, all the cars, everybody's cars added together is about 20 miles per gallon, and they want to make the fleet in America, in other words, all the cars out there riding on the road at 30 miles an hour, 30 miles per gallon, right? That's a 50% increase in efficiency, right? If we drive the same number of miles, that's a 50% decrease in revenue. Have you thought about that? Now, we're still growing. Georgia's not sitting still. It's not growing at the pace it was, but we are still growing. So that kind of masked through the years this whole issue, because we kept growing and growing and growing, and efficiency really hasn't gone up, right? We went through this sequence, I guess, back in the 90s where we bought SUVs all the time. So it was kind of all masked. The other variable is the amount of miles we drive. Right? So if I drive a car and I get 20 miles per gallon, in 1 year I drive 30,000 miles as a family. The next year I drive 35,000 miles as a family. I pay more, right? But well, the problem is the trends in growth are to more urban areas. Now, you guys know this. Rural Georgia is not growing, right? Suburban Georgia is having trouble right now, but urban centers in Washington, D.C. and these other places actually are growing. When people live in urban centers across this country, they tend to drive less. Have y'all thought through that? And we tell them to drive less, right? We tell them to carpool. Hey, carpool, telework, ride the bus, ride the train. We want them off the road. Well, when people drive less, we have less revenue for transportation. So I'm not here to tell you that our revenue for transportation is going to just take a nosedive. What I'm telling you is where it's going is probably going to be a flat level for a long time. So if you go through the blood, sweat, and tears of raising the gas tax, and legislators would lose their job over raising the gas tax, trust me, they're scared to death of it. That's why you don't hear anybody in Congress talking about raising the gas tax. You don't hear state legislators talking about raising the gas tax. So you raise it 5 cents, a dime, a nickel. That's a wash in a few years if the efficiency goes up of the fleet. So the General Assembly said, okay, what do we do? Let's come up with some other funding mechanism. And through a series of 3 or 4 different legislative sessions debating statewide solutions versus county-to-county solutions, and they finally came up in 2010 with what they call the regional solution. Atlanta in particular wanted to have a mechanism by which they could pass a tax and not count on or depend on the rest of the state. The people in the rest of the state don't want to depend on Atlanta either. Trust me, I go to all of them, all right? There are 12 regions in this state, and I got the privilege of actually going to all these processes last summer in all 12 regions. So they want the money raised in Atlanta, the folks in Atlanta region want it to stay in Atlanta. The same exact sentiment is said down in Southwest Georgia and Albany. They don't want to send a dime to Atlanta, all right? They feel like all their money is going to Atlanta already, and I bet you half the people in this room would say, I thought the money was going to Southwest Georgia, right? There's just not much money. So they came up with what's called we call it t-splost or Transportation Investment Act, whatever you want to call it, because it looks and smells and feels like a local sales tax. Local sales tax have passed overwhelmingly in the history of this country. There are a few. Matter of fact, Coweta barely passed theirs, right? 52-48 or something just recently, local sales tax. Rome voted theirs down. Glenn County down in Brunswick voted theirs down. Dalton voted theirs down. But you can count the ones that voted it down on one hand. The vast majority of cities and counties, even during this time of, not depression, recession, right? Recession, have continued to pass these one after another. In some places, they're passing education splosses, local splosses at 80% rates. So the General Assembly said, whoa, this is great. Let's give the vote. People like a list of projects. They created something that looks and smells like you see projects, you vote on projects. It is one of the purest forms of government there is. Because right now we raise your millage rate in the county, that goes to the general fund in the county, then your elected leaders decide how it's spent. In this case, guess who gets to decide how it's spent? You do. You get to vote on the list of projects. So it's really a unique concept, and that's why local option sales taxes have passed all over this country. Transportation, from a standpoint of needs, and I'll close with this, every study we've ever done, guys, says that if you invest in infrastructure, I didn't say transportation today, infrastructure. It could be water, it could be sewer, it could be schools. When you invest in infrastructure, good things happen to your community. Ask the communities that didn't invest. They don't have good things happening there. People are moving away. So if you want to continue to grow and prosper in this county, in Georgia, if you want to make Georgia economically competitive, you've got to invest. How you do that, that was up to the General Assembly. They decided this path. So I'm here to help implement this path they've proposed. I'm not here to tell you to vote yes or no. I'm telling you, though, good things do happen when you do invest, and we're short on money. We've been coasting on past success, so that's where we are today. All right, Robert?
Thank you, Todd. Well, thank you. I've been with UPS, as we said, 34 years, and I'm here basically as the person who's talking as a business person who sees this as something that's important to us. UPS, we are sponsoring the referendum. We're asking for our employees to sponsor it. And as a transportation company, you could probably say, well, that's because that's a part of your business. And it is. You know, we started out as a couple of walking messengers in 1907, so we have some longevity of not just being truck drivers, but being a pretty efficient bunch of trying to figure out the smartest way to deliver a customer's package. And now it's not just delivering and pickup, it's worldwide logistics. So not only do we have a large fleet in the airlines, we have a large fleet on the ground. And congestion is a problem for us, as I'm sure you know. And with anything that gets done in the business world, someone's going to pick up the tab. I think the most important thing for us when we look at what we do at UPS, we break our business down into about 5 categories. And I'm going to try to break those categories down on how we see it relate to the t-splost. First is, and the most important thing to us in our culture, is our safety. We're out on the street every day in a vehicle that most people in their personal vehicle would not come out a winner no matter who the fault is. So from a safety perspective, we take the safety of the community, our people, the general public, probably more importantly than anything we possibly can do. We have a good group of folks. In fact, one of our Liberty Mutual representatives' wives is in the audience with us. We work closely with them. We spend what we say basically 40% of what we do is to work on safety. And when you add congestion, as all of you know, especially with drivers that are unattentive or having some sort of distraction in what they're doing, whether it being texting, playing with the radio, it doesn't really matter. It just adds even more, because when the road's clear and you make a mistake, you've got room. When the road's congested, you make a mistake, there is no room. So safety is the most important thing to us. It always has been. We think if we relieve congestion in any way at all, we're going to improve the safety of everyone that's around. We take service very important. Our customers to us are our lifeblood. Our customers tell us we want fast, we want efficient. When I started with the company, if you delivered it, you were happy. Now it's got to be delivered by 8 o'clock, it's got to be delivered by 9 o'clock, it has to be delivered at a certain time of the day. It has to be picked up at a certain time of the day. And even in the city of Peachtree City in the Fayette region, when we promise a customer we're going to pick them up at 8:15 or 9:15 or 8:45, you think, well, you got till 11 o'clock to get to the airport. I can tell you sometimes that gets to be a challenge, especially when that plane's going to leave at 11:05 with or without a package. So our customers do expect that, and it's kind of unique in today's world that I can pick up a package here tonight, in fact, probably in the next couple of hours, and have it delivered in Germany in the morning, if we make the network work properly. And our network is dependent upon our ability to transport. Our next element is profitability or cost control, and we're pretty good at it. In fact, I'm doing everything I can to make that tax go down on the gas tax. Thank you, Mr. Long. We've improved our efficiency on our vehicle. I drive a fleet right now of natural gas, diesel hybrid, electric hybrids. We know that we've continued, and we've had that kind of technology since back in the 60s and 70s. We've been working on anything we can do to improve our fuel efficiency, tweaking our computers on our vehicles. It's almost a lifeblood for us to pinch a penny to death. And if that means I can cut some cost out of our tax bill through our gas fuel, regardless of what it is, I'm going to do it. We do it through our technology. We talk about investment. I can't venture to think that we'd be around 105 years, which is a lot longer than most Fortune 500 companies, if we hadn't reinvested in the business. Our reinvestment of late, you probably hear we try to make more right-hand turns than left-hand turns. Why? You don't have to stop in traffic to clear left, right, left to go before you go across. I can beat that intersection in a couple of seconds. We're talking seconds. Our CEO came out and told us that with a 5-minute delay for every vehicle in our fleet a day, that's a $100 million cost to us as an organization. I can assure you my fleet in my division sees 5-minute delays all the time. And when you look at what we do with telematics using GPS technology, we're doing everything I can to reduce my miles. I'm squeezing miles down. I can tell you right now, if I was static on this year to last year just in my territory, I'm delivering the same area with almost 1,200 miles less a day than I did this time last year. And that's because we chose at times to say, what's the right investment? Well, there's a cost to do nothing. In fact, when we go through a cost model to determine what we are going to do as a business, one of the questions is, what's the cost to do nothing? There's a cost. And when we sat down years ago and decided to go international, we lost money for years. And when we were a private company, I was one of the people that complained and said, wow, is this a smart business for year after year to lose money on an international arena? And now I'm sitting back and saying, wow, thank goodness we made that decision. We wouldn't be the company we are today had we not made some tough choices along the way to invest in new technologies, new territories, new companies, new adventures. So investment's tough. It's not an easy thing. I guess when you look at the public sector, a tax is not easy. But there is a cost of doing nothing, and I think that's one of the questions we always have to look at. We also look at our volume. Without customers, I have no volume. And in order to please my customers, I have to make sure that I give them everything they want, regardless of when, where, or how they want it, and make them happy doing it. Not always successful. Some of you probably are sitting here and saying, I might have a story about UPS. I'll hear about it, I hope, in private. But we'll do anything we can to correct that. But business people aren't perfect. And so we do try hard to make sure that we take care of our customers and continue. And, you know, in today's recession, I guess is the words being used, people look for ways to reduce their volume. And they look for ways to reduce the way they're spending. Sometimes I don't have a volume problem, I have a revenue problem. So, and that's a choice of whether I want to spend more money for that thing to be delivered overnight or whether I want to take the chance and just go ahead and deliver it in 2 days. So people do make choices, and that's one that we have here today. The last thing we have is our employees. And everything we do at UPS is a foundation on employees. And I can tell you that when we made the decision to support the referendum, it's for the goodness of all of the employees, the 9,000, close to 10,000 in Georgia, the 17,000 in my district, which includes South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia. We're doing the tough decisions, as we've done for 105 years, to support our employees so we can continue to provide good jobs. We know we would like to put 100 more cars on the street, because if I put 100 more cars on the street, I'm going to have a whole lot more customers to fill them up with. But to put 100 more cars on the street, to have them sit there and sit idle, which I can tell you I burn 6/10 of fuel for every hour of idle. It's 6/10 of a gallon of fuel for every hour that I sit idle. It gets expensive when you're just sitting. So we would like to do that. We expect to do that, and we do support this. So I look forward to the questions later. Dave?
Wow, I'm not sure if I can follow that, so I'll be brief. That's a lot of information, and it's amazing the science that UPS has boiled this down to, and I guess it's the volume and the size that you are, it's important to do that. But at the same time, taking care of the little things is critical as well. Speaking of things that aren't little, Metro Atlanta is growing, as you know, growing like crazy. We've grown by 1 million people. The 10-county region has grown by 1 million people in this last decade, and we're going to grow by another 1 million people in each of the next 3 decades. So by the year 2040, we're going to have 8 million people in the region. So that's good for realtors, right? All right, that's what I want to hear. Now, at the same time, we're not you know, we're sort of stuck. We're in our economy. I mean, we're in this kind of this quagmire, and I know realtors feel that more than anybody else, I think, because you've got folks that want to move. I remember it used to not be a big deal to write a contingent contract, right? Because you're going to sell that. You know, those houses are going to sell. And I don't know how many of you guys are doing that now. I've been in my house for way too long. I'm probably not a good customer for a realtor, but we need economic activity. We have got to grow. In spite of the fact that we are going to have so many more people moving here, a lot of those are frankly births, live births, the birth rate, but we do have a lot of in-migration as well. But in spite of the growth in our region, Georgia's only 48th in per capita transportation spending. So if you plot those out on a map, and you've got your population growth going this way, and you've got your spending at the bottom of the bucket nationally, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign for infrastructure, for either maintaining what we have or building new capacity for what we have to be able to plan for. And new capacity comes in a lot of different ways. We need to have options and choices. And the project list that you may have seen, 157 regional projects, includes several transit projects that are going to be very important. And while there's not going to be a lot of transit in Fayette County, as we talked about before, 73%, Michael, I think the number was 73.5% of Fayette workers don't work in Fayette County. They work in other parts of the region. And at the same time, a lot of folks that do work here live in other parts of the region. So, you know, those options and choices are very, very important. So this referendum is an opportunity for us to begin to catch up. We frankly have been falling behind. We were sort of Todd and I were talking as we were driving down here together. We carpooled, by the way. We get points for that.
It's actually, we lose.
It hurts. That's exactly right. But we were talking about, you know, we've sort of been the tortoise and the hare. Metro Atlanta, in the lead up to the Olympic Games, we were the hare. That's the rabbit, right? All right. We don't call them hares much in Swanee, where I'm from. We call them rabbits. Or critters. My kids call them critters. But we jumped out to a big lead. We were leading the Southeast. We were leading the nation. We were on the map globally. And then the Olympics came, and we sat back, and we patted ourselves on the back, and we took a big nap. And we just finally, a few years ago, we woke up. And we at the Metro Atlanta Chamber, and I know Virginia can attest to this, Kay and Henry can attest to this, and Leonardo and DeKalb, and all of the chambers, all of us that work together to try to recruit business, to try to encourage the businesses that are here, like UPS, to expand, create jobs, grow their businesses. We have found out that we are not as competitive as we used to be, and frankly, we are struggling to keep up. Dallas is kicking our butt. Denver has passed 2 regional sales taxes, where they've gotten their 7 counties together to make an investment in their region for regionally significant projects. Charlotte has passed 2 sales taxes. So I could go down the list: Seattle, Phoenix, San Diego. I could just keep going down the list, but I won't bore you. In my mind, there's no question that we need to do this. Elections have consequences. You know that. You guys have a number of races where you've got people running against each other. And the outcome of those elections are going to impact your life. They're going to impact your county. This election that we all 10 counties, and frankly the whole state, we're all going to feel the impacts and the consequences. And I believe that if we have a yes vote, if we end up with 50% plus 1, and trust me, it is going to be close. It's going to be razor thin. You can listen to polls, and polls are all over the place. Media likes it to be negative because they sell more papers. They sell more TV spots and get their viewership. If it's you know, what do they say? If it bleeds, it leads. So you expect to see a lot of that. But trust me, it is going to be a razor thin margin. And that's why we need folks that have networks. And that's you guys. That's realtors. You guys have folks that trust your opinion, people that look to you for insights and for guidance. And you can help shape the way they think and believe. But we need everybody to reach out to their networks. If we pass this referendum, then we'll be on a path to investing in ourselves, investing in infrastructure, creating jobs, being a catalyst for growth. And we know it's a solution. You may not like every project on the list. There are some that I probably wouldn't have necessarily put on there. But at the same time, the alternative is that we do nothing. And the opponents, I was on the radio this morning. Anybody hear me on the radio this morning? Anybody listen to 640? No? I don't know if you get it down here. I don't get it in Swanee too good. But I was on the radio this morning, so I got to talk to the radio guys. But we've got groups on the right side of the political spectrum that oppose this, and we've got folks on the left side, the environmental groups, and if you want to call them left and right, they're just different groups. They just have different views. And usually they don't get together very much, but in this case they have. They've gotten together to oppose this referendum. But when we ask them, okay, if you don't do this, we can all agree. Let me just ask this question. How many of you think we have a traffic problem, a transportation problem? All right, that's just about everybody in the room. That's, by the way, that's almost always the case. Usually I ask it the other way, which is how many of you don't think we have the problem, but it's almost unanimous. So we can all agree, even if people are die-hard against this program, they can agree we got a problem, we need to do something. But when we ask the coalition of people who are having press conferences, steps to the Capitol, doing all sorts of communication things on the internet and other places, what is your plan? If we don't do this, what do we do? They can't even begin to agree on what that would be. So there are people who say we need to redo the list. We need to start over. And we may get that chance. I hope we approve this list. But trust me, there is no guarantee. I don't think there's a lot of confidence that the next list will be better than this first list. We may come up with the same list. So, having said that, this is an opportunity. The choice between passing and not passing is we move forward, we send a strong signal to business owners, folks who are site location consultants. You guys work with those folks. How many of you guys work with site location people? Yeah. They come to you guys because they want to know where we're going to put a company, because we want the executive leadership to be able to have good access, options and choices. So you guys know, frankly, a lot of times before the chambers even know that somebody's looking at us, that, you know, or that somebody's made a decision to come here. But I would dare say you're not getting as many of those calls as you used to get. So I see a few people shaking their heads like, I hope they agree. Is that agreement? Okay, it's agreement. So we can either do this and we're sending a strong signal, or we can stay with the naysayers and do nothing, and we don't know what comes next. And that's trust me, that's a chilling message to send. It's the equivalent of letting people know loud and clear. And we were in the New York Times yesterday, we were in the Wall Street Journal, we're going to be in the Wall Street Journal again next week. It will be sending a signal to the country and leaders in the country saying, Metro Atlanta, we all agree, we all know that we have a serious traffic problem, and we have chosen not to address it. And I really, really hope that we don't wind up sending that message. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit more later. I'd love to throw it up for questions. I appreciate the time.